Hello, my name is Sally Pinto, and I'm the Program Director for the Yonkers NORC, Neighborhood Naturally Occurring Retirement Community. We serve seniors 60 plus in Northeast Yonkers. We are under the auspices of WJCS and the Yonkers Office for the Aging. We also have a resource specialist and a nurse on staff. We conduct virtual programming in partnership with the Yonkers Public Library on a daily basis. Enjoy the program.
While I know on the website it says summer sustainability, we were trying to come up with a good focus. And since it's the end of August, I figured let me do a back to school theme. But honestly, it's everything I'm going to talk about today. You can apply it to what you're doing every day. So don't think that you're not part of this discussion, whether you have kids or not. So I just decided to, focus on that, but these are things that you can take into your everyday, life. We are gonna begin. Before I begin, do you have any questions about anything? Because I'm about to do a presentation on a slide presentation. That looks kind of cool. Anybody? All right, I'm going to get into it. So let me share my screen. Whoa. Back to school and how to get through the school year without polluting the planet too much. Meaning, what I mean by that is there's always going to be some residual something. And this is for parents, not for parents and students only. Okay, so I'm going to start with the wood cleaner, although I probably should have started with something else, but this was this month's craft. So when I've always thought of wood cleaner as something that had like orange oil in it or something. And it's so weird to see on wood cleaner white vinegar, which you think, oh my God, doesn't vinegar put pits in wood and black metal? But it doesn't actually. In fact, you can clean your food boards with white vinegar, unless you're using meat, in which case, if you cut raw meat on a board, you have to make a mixture of water and a little bit of bleach. And I have a bleach story to talk about after. Terrible bleach disaster. So there's olive oil in this. And when I thought olive oil, I thought, oh my God, it's going to be so greasy. But I have other wood cleaners that are equally greasy. And it doesn't smell like anything because you have the lemon juice, the vegetable glycerin, which gives it a nice smooth finish, and then some essential oils if you want, which I did, non-MLM essential oil, and I mixed all the ingredients. I didn't get it into a bottle yet, so I put it in a glass bottle, and that's what it looks like. And I used some on the table, and yes, it is greasy, but wood needs oil, not gonna lie. And in order to keep it in good shape, it needs to have that moisture. You can always buff it out with, a towel or, paper towels, bamboo paper towels, and get a glass bottle. Now, the reason why I talk about a glass bottle, and this is going to partly be what this is about today, in the land of recycling, recyclers will tell you that they want to, and I've seen interviews with people who do recycling, and God bless them, because it smells, because people don't don't wash their recyclable items. They would prefer to see aluminum and glass because it's easier to recycle than plastic. So anything you buy, I have a tendency at this point now, if my kids want soda, we make sure it's in glass. I know that, the reason we went into plastic was that if you drop it on the floor, it doesn't break. Right, it doesn't break for 400 years. Just be careful with it. And which brings me to an old favorite. I got myself a spray bottle for, remember way back when I did the glass cleaner with vinegar, alcohol, water, distilled water really. And the secret ingredient is cornstarch. The cornstarch is what makes it streak free. So I invested in a glass bottle finally, and I put it in this, but I'm also storing it in these mason jars. And the reason why I came up with this whole theme this month was that my son came back from school with a whole new diet plan, right? So non-fat sweeteners, sweeteners that were not cancer causing. And he started to make his own food. And he liked the way that I started storing things in jars. And we invested in an entire box of the mason jars, big ones, really big ones, small ones. And I know you've seen that with all of my little recipes and stuff. And I'm gonna hopefully share a picture of his kitchen because he's in an apartment. He's got all his glass jars with everything, oats, flour, rice, everything is in a glass jar. It looks really impressive. Someone asked me, is he a chef? Yeah, no, but he likes to cook. Anyway, moving along. Yes, so the olive oil, the vinegar. Vinegar is for everything. Vinegar is like miraculous. And I would suggest you invest in vinegar. Invest in vinegar and water. You make a lot of money on water. Yeah, okay, let's move on. So my picture there, homework at the dining room wooden table, that's why I did this wood cleaner, because now, you're gonna get crayon and residue, and this cleaner is pretty good for that. Okay, so here is an eco-conscious school list. And it's also good advice for people who aren't going to school. You're not non-school attending people. That's poorly written, but it gives the idea. So get clothes secondhand. There are a few services on Instagram and on the internet where you do a clothes exchange, right? You just look up, you don't say secondhand clothes, renewable clothes, things like that. There is this one company where you put your clothes in a bag, send them, and they take money off for choices you make on their website. I will be doing this soon. Also, I would like to remind everybody while we're here, we're still running the Got Sneakers program for the library through the Friends of Crestwood Library. If you have any sneakers that that are in decent shape, still in decent shape, fairly wearable, even if they're junky, put them in. We have the bag that's in the library. So we're still running that. Before you do anything, it doesn't matter if it's a work project, any kind of project, rather than go out and buy stuff, inventory your supplies before you make purchases. I started doing that with my kids because unfortunately, the grammar school that they went into sent us home with this extensive list of stuff, knew this, knew that. And we finally got wise to the fact that the kids were all sharing their stuff in, especially in kindergarten, they'd have these little cups with all their stuff in it. I stopped making the big purchases. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that because it's not, after a while, you're just wasting it. You're bringing home the old stuff and you can't use the new stuff. Teach your kids and yourself to pack your own lunch, make your own lunch. Look for supplies around the house, right? Mary mentioned this, our Mary. I mean, just in this little pencil holder I have here, which is nice. If I were to, and I've done this with work, I go in and I find pencils. I don't have to buy pencils. They are plastic and covered in something that probably is not good for the environment, but it's worse if I buy, well, now I'm going to just buy all this new stuff. You just use what you have first, okay? That's the least polluting option. The other thing is you don't have to spend gas going to the store. Collect stuff. Use leftover supplies from the year before, which is kind of what I'm saying. Purchase used textbooks, as long as they're the correct edition. That also goes for if you're going to Amazon, get the used copies. They're pretty good. And also, might I add, go to your local library and take books out. Ooh. We have a lot of selections and we can get them from anywhere. I just recently wanted to read Gore Vidal after so many years. So that was my personal borrowing from the library. Choose non-toxic and eco-friendly materials, pens, pencils, backpacks, etc. I would try not to buy those backpacks that are filled with plastic, the nylon backpacks, or reuse a backpack from the year before. And wait for the supply list from the teacher. It's the same thing in life. If you have a project, if you're going to do something, don't preemptively buy something. Find out first what you need for the project and then purchase only what you need. Anybody have any other suggestions? Feel free to unmute yourself before I go on to the next thing. Any other things you want to add? Yeah, Ed.
Yeah, Jackie, two things. With regard to the notebooks and stuff, and it depends on how much flexibility people have, but I used to find, like in college, you'd have usually, like, let's say 5 classes, something like that. What I used to do is, instead of buying like a 5-section notebook, and most of it for me, it wasn't so much, environmental at the time. It was more just I was lazy and I didn't want to carry around a bunch of books. But what I used to do is I'd get like a 3-subject book, and then I'd do one subject at the beginning of number 1, a second subject going from back to the front at the back of section 1, and then the third one on the second one. And I just would make it into like a 6-subject thing by writing from the front and then also writing from the back. And unless you had a class like history or something that had lots and lots of notes, generally it wasn't a problem. I usually didn't find 2 subjects merging in the middle. But if you did, then you bought another book or you used another section that you hadn't used somehow, Right. But I used to find that was easy to do, and that way you only were carrying around one book, and environmentally, I think it helped. Right. Rather than having, because I tell you, my own kids, I remember it used to drive me nuts. They'd be coming back from high school or college or whatever, and they'd have all these notebooks that they used like the first, I don't know, I'm going to say 40 pages, and then the rest of it was all empty, you
Right.
know? So, it's just like that. The other thing was in packing your own lunch, I would say to use those, I think they're called silicone sandwich bags instead of the plastic sandwich bags.
Yeah.
Throwing those things out every day, it doesn't make sense. If you can get something that you can use over and over, it's just so much better.
Yeah.
And usually it's not an inconvenient thing to, you usually have something you can put that into that you're going to carry around anyway. But you clean it off, whatever, and just bring it home. But you don't have to be putting all that plastic out all the time. So
Forgot to show an
just
example.
another thought.
Yeah, I forgot to show another sample. I had the silicone.
I have one here. If I can focus on, I'll get it and we can show it later.
Right. Well, they have snap bag sizes. Like we were famous in school sending like the little And we have them at the library, the little fish, you know, oh my God, I forgot the name of them, the little fish crackers, goldfish. We would put them in snack bags and zip them up. And when I think of how, I used to reuse some of the snack bags. But at the time, it never occurred to me, and I don't have it here. One thing I'm going to suggest this week, that we all take scissors to all our plastic bags and cut them open. Don't leave your plastic bags as a trap for animals. If there's one thing you do this week, cut your plastic bags open. I do it at work all the time. They cover the journal news in plastic, and I cut it in the middle and then I cut it across so that it's not a trap. Again, you can't help the fact that it's plastic and God knows where it's going to go, but at least nothing's going to get stuck in it, you know.
And I always do that with the usually the soda that we have in our house. You know, we buy them the 6-pack of the little the tin, not the tin, you know, the aluminum cans, because they can get recycled. But the plastic things that hold the 6 of them together, I think it's important there that you cut those up so that you know, because so often you see pictures of birds with the damn things stuck in their bills and all that sort of thing.
Right. Well, I think that that movie, Happy Feet, did a lot for that. Because Robin Williams' character has the head penguin has that thing wrapped around his throat.
Oh, does he? I never saw that one, but
yeah. And I, you know, at this point, I know like a lot of the soda companies are doing a thing where they put them in boxes now. And Pepsi's trying to say that they're becoming more sustainable. And I got snagged on that word sustainable this week by one of our part-timers. She's like, what does that really mean when you say sustainable this or whatever? I love that, you know, and we'll talk about that. But okay. So, and I can't think of anything else for now. Oh yes. So, the stuff that I purchased this week. So I bought a bamboo toothbrush. They're not much more expensive. Actually, they're not more expensive than the plastic ones. Get a bamboo toothbrush. I have another one. This I liked. I saw this when I went to Stony Brook. There's a zero waste store when I dropped my son off. A nail brush, right? I've been dying for a nail brush, but the bristles are like boar or like they'll break down, and the brush itself is wood. I love nail brushes, especially when you do gardening. What else? Oh, so we were talking about sustainable choices for school. You send a box of tissues. This is Grove. I'm not getting any money from Grove, but I like to push their service because they have some really good items. Maybe they're a little bit more expensive, but at least you're not buying a small package of plastic, you know, things. The tissues come in a box and you can recycle the box. Now, when I was thinking about like, where do people purchase school supplies? People go to CVS a lot. I saw this Bic mechanical pencils. The paper is recyclable, but what I found, now you'd look at this and say, wow, you know, it's the mechanical pencil is plastic. However, we've spoken about this company before. Look at the back, TerraCycle. TerraCycle is that company that takes all kinds of plastic material from people, all kinds of materials, not just plastic. And they are able to now create something so that it's more of a circular kind of thing. So they said, so recycle pencil through TerraCycle. but they can also make these. So they're asking that you send the pencil to TerraCycle, but they're also making things. What else?
Jackie, are those pens or pencils made from?
Recycled
Is
plastic.
so that's part of the circle you're saying.
Yeah, they're made
Okay.
from recycled plastic. That's why I picked them up, because I thought, okay, it's still polluting, but you can send the pencils to TerraCycle. And my goal is to start having TerraCycle receptacles at all 3 branches. So this way, whatever it is, an all-in-one box, you dump your stuff in. Just makes sense. They should be everywhere. I love this company. I've been following this company since they started on Instagram. It's amazing. Okay. What else? Let's go to the next.
Before you leave Grove all entirely, we're using Grove. I started doing that a couple of months ago
I
now.
use some things from Grove, some things I don't like. I'm glad you said that. The reason why I chose to make my wood cleaner is that, oh, this looks so great. Made from plant stuff. And what do I look in the back? The back has, oh my God, wrong glasses for reading. The back has that thing I talked about months ago, methyl isothiazolinone, which is an irritant. It is a preservative. So while it is kind of a good product, it still has that preservative in it. And that's not a good thing. It's bad for allergies. It has been known to cause cancer. I mean, obviously in high levels, but don't you want to cut that out? So I thought, oh, I've been using this, didn't look at the back. And then when I finally did, I was like, I'm going to make my own wood cleaner, which worked, by the way. So I'm just going to say that. And rather than use the wood cleaner from, what's that famous one? Pledge. And also orange oil. Orange oil is expensive. So I would prefer not to use, I know olive oil is expensive, but it's less. And mineral oil is not a sustainable way to, it uses fossil fuels to be made. In order to be made, it wastes a lot of fossil fuels. So that's why I did that. So yeah, there are some things in Grove that I think are great, some things that I'm like, meh, Okay. So, and there was something else. These are great Swedish dishcloths, and they're not made from plastic, and they biodegrade. See? Compostable dishcloths, very good. I love them. It's a good substitute for paper towels, but obviously there are some things in life we need paper towels for because some things are uber gross. Use bamboo. Which brings me to this. I'm introducing another toilet paper yet again. Right, so bamboo paper, 100%, and it's called cloud paper. It was a little pricey, not as pricey as Don't Give a Crap, which is actually, or Give a Crap, I think that's the name of that. That's embarrassing. But there's a few of them out there. Some are less expensive than others. There's not much on the rolls. However, they're pretty thick, so you don't need too much. There is such a thing as reusable toilet paper. Enough said. Okay. So let me go on to the next slide. Any questions? Okay, so what does sustainability really mean? So let's get into that word. What do you think it means? Anybody out there?
I mean, I think it just means that I think of it in terms of like forest products and whatnot, in a sense that, you do a practice that, you're basically not, at least what you're doing, it can be replaced, and under, with the time constraints being somewhat realistic. I wouldn't count, for example, like you take a whole forest down to do paper products, and it takes, 1,500 years to replace it, or, whatever the crazy numbers would be. But there you can do things in such a way that you're really not damaging the infrastructure, if you want to call it that, but the resources that you're using are replaceable under within some sort of a happy threshold, is the way I look at it.
Yeah. I wasn't looking at the chat, but E on the chat was talking about using snack bags or plastic bags for garbage instead of buying bags. In certain garbage cans in the house, I don't use bags at all, and I just clean out the plastic waste thing. So also there was TerraCycle usually charges to recycle, though. I think it's worth the price. And they also have free recycling with certain groups. That's why I'm suggesting we get these, we get the containers from TerraCycle. I purchased one ages ago for toothpaste tubes and toothbrushes. I made something too big. You can also do this by the small bags. I think it's worth it because we're so deep in, it's going to cost us no matter what. The cost is there. But like I said, they also have free recycling with groups. And also someone asked, do I use the wood cleaner on floors? I wouldn't use this wood cleaner on the floor. But that, you know what? I think I will look into a floor wood cleaner because I think there's probably more water in it. Okay. And also, is this toilet paper rough? Not really. No. It's pretty, it's if you use Scotty's, same thing. And it's actually a little bit softer, but it's not, like Charmin or whatever. But Charmin is not sustainable. Okay, so let's get back to the chalkboard. Okay, so any other questions? Oh, wait, I have something else in the chat. Oh, thank you, Marianne, and you're welcome. Okay, what is rewilding? And the reason I came up with this is on Instagram. This guy came on. I have to look where I saved it. Okay. Just the other day, this British scientist, he's an environmentalist, got on a discussion. There was a scientific meeting, whatever. He was on a British TV show first, and then he switched the discussion to Instagram. He said, even if we just stop completely using fossil fuels and we stop everything that throws CO2 into the air, we are still in trouble. And he said, we're still past the point. He says, but there is a suggestion, because on our last discussion last month, Ed was saying how hopeless the whole situation seemed. And this guy talked about rewilding. Has anyone ever heard of rewilding? Okay, so rewilding is planting trees, going out there and planting lots of green things, trees mostly. So one of the things I was reading is a fully grown tree takes out a few meters of carbon in the air, right? So CO2, because we're speaking about CO2. An acre of fully grown trees absorbs 2.5 tons of CO2. So CO2.
Per year, per month, per...
It's probably a year. Dang,
I would think it is, but yeah, okay.
you got me on that one. Okay, I will look that up. You can, and I'm gonna make a thing. I'll blog it. We'll blog this. So the CO2 that is currently in the atmosphere is 421 parts per million in the atmosphere. Before this, okay. I didn't want to do that. No, no. Oh my God, I can't go backwards. Okay, I can go backwards. All right. So for 6,000 years, it was at 260 parts per million. And you say to yourself, well, what CO2 could have gone in the atmosphere then? You know, volcanoes, right? We had extinction level events. We always have volcanoes going on. And certain, when trees absorb their level of CO2, they start to give off CO2. So at some point when we were a super tropical planet, the trees were giving off some CO2. But pre-industrial, it was 260 parts per million. Maybe when once the industrial age went, it climbed up a little bit. But if you look at where it's gone from the 1800s to now, it's like a sharp incline. So, what's the safe level? Well, 421 parts per million in the atmosphere was on top of the highest mountain in Hawaii, Mauna Kea, I think. And that's not good because that's all the way up there, which means down on this level, it's probably a lot more. So what we have currently is not healthy. And it's already creating, we spoke about global warming because it's creating this sort of dome effect around the planet, and it's carbon holds the heat in. It traps heat. Now,
Jackie, if I could, the easiest way I think to think of that is if the carbon levels keep getting higher and higher, if you were to compare the Earth to Venus, Venus is a very, very carbon dioxide dense atmosphere that they have. And the place is baked every day, and it's even further away. Well, Venus is closer to the sun. Yeah, for a second I was thinking I had more of an argument, but
no, that's okay.
The carbon dioxide, like you're saying, they always talk about the greenhouse effect. It is a greenhouse effect. It's like a big envelope around the place, and all the heat that gets in, it doesn't get to come out. Right. Yeah, and that escape valve we need, and the carbon dioxide. A few years ago, Bill McKibben, who's always been a big name in environmentalism, he had started up an organization of 350, I think it was 350.org, but the 350 referred to the parts per million. And at the time, it was still attainable that we might have had a chance at 350. And he thought at that point, we could avoid most of the terrible downside, but he just gives you an idea. 350, he set that up, I don't know, I'm going to say 1990. I don't even know. It might have been later than that. 421. I mean, you can see what kind of an increase that's been.
Right.
71 points in the last, I don't know, say 30, 40 years, whatever.
Right.
But it's and if there's anything, it might be accelerating at this point. Who knows?
It is accelerating. It is.
Yeah. I mean, we're in big trouble, with this stuff.
Yeah.
People have to do
but
stuff.
There are ways out of this. There are ways out. And you say you're one person, we're all one people. We have to start supporting and pushing with our local governments. Hey, replant that tree that you took down over here. I mean, don't get me wrong, I came from Long Island, but Long Island is one of the worst places in terms of damage to native. We did it here. I mean, I can't, but they just tore through in the 1800s during Walt Whitman's time, he spoke about this, that they just tore through every tree, which is why it is so flat. And, but I will say, again, when I had been living out in Montauk for a short time, they were starting to replant, they were planting the trees along the Grand Central Parkway. Now I drive to and I thought, oh, look, they're getting so big. This is great. That's terrific. Now they've absolutely leveled them on one section and put up all these gigantic, God knows, townhouses, whatever, and, killed it once again. So you have to call your local government, nudge them, please take care of the trees we have here. If we chop them down, please put up another one. And support, people who replant trees. So it's very important that we take care of what we have, and especially old growth forests. We have a very old growth forest up here, upstate New York. I forget the town. I have it on, I'll post that too. And it's being protected. So all these areas that are being protected, it doesn't matter how you vote. I don't care who your candidate is. I don't care what your political party is. You can speak to whatever representative, speak to whatever representative, whoever you voted for, and say, hey, could you please replant? So E again is, I don't want to ignore this, saying that they're a big proponent of recycling and composting, that photos of recycled things have been doing before it became mainstream. Yes, but the problem is that it's correct. The ocean is full of stuff. And it is important to watch programs on these. Most of the things that we recycle can't go anywhere, which is why TerraCycle has been going in, and they're not the only company. They've actually been going into recycling plants to take the load out of there. And they've been very successful with that program. And that's something that on a state level, we have to be doing ourselves. But that's why I suggest you buy glass items, whatever it is you're going to get in a glass, like sodas and things. I know that sounds counterintuitive or it's dangerous, but I would just go back to glass. Even if I treat my kids with Coke, I get them in the glass bottles. So because recycling, they haven't been that successful with recycling. But reducing, that's the big R here, is reducing what you purchase, when is enough, which is why I had this discussion about school supplies, because what else do you have to buy? Part of the problem with some of the packaging, not this package, there's no plastic on it, it's just the box. What do you need to wrap pencils in plastic for? I don't get that. Right? You don't need to. So this, that, I'm going to move on if we're okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, just to continue on that theme, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff that, like it's just, making that a priority to think about while you're like in the supermarket or whatever, because you can buy, like, for example, eggs that come in plastic, those clear plastic boxes, or you can get the old, I don't even know, it's paper cardboard or something.
Yeah, it's compressed paper, like a paper mulch.
Right, but like that stuff, or like I find
throw
like,
that into your garden. Okay, that can go. That's compostable.
okay, but at the very least, even if you were to put it in the garbage, it still has a chance of going away, as opposed to the other containers.
Exactly.
And I've been calling Hellman's mayonnaise because it drives me crazy that they do nothing. I can't find glass jars of that stuff. I just always find the plastic. peanut butter, you can buy, like I'm thinking of like Teddy's and some of those type brands. They
Right.
come in glass jars, which like you said, is so much more easily recycled than your Jifs and whatever else, you know, which always come in the plastic things. I'm always after my wife. She comes home with the Jif all the time and it drives me nuts. You know, but I'll get her one of these days, you know,
Well,
and
the
I
other
even,
thing, yeah, if you don't get sugary peanut butter, I believe some places will let you go with your glass container to put it in the jar. So there, you know, there are places that will let you bring your own containers. And I love this, what E says, still can't use up the school supplies from years ago. Yep. We're still running through that. Even pasta sauce now, not Victoria's. Victoria's is in glass. A lot of it, or the cans. I do not buy any of that sauce. And
but we,
I make my own sauce.
we need to, you know, like usually on these jars and things, they have phone numbers. They're dying for people to call and, you know, compliment their stuff or whatever. But you can use those numbers to say, hey, you know, go back to glass, which
Right.
we don't want the plastic, you know?
Right. That's another way that you can speak your mind, call these companies. Marcia has a question. Yeah, yes, Marcia? Marcia, do you want to unmute?
I made him. Oh, Miss.
No, it's Gina, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Hang on a second. Marcia, I've unmuted you.
How did that happen? I don't have a question. Sorry, I don't know how that happened. Lower. I'm pressing lower my hand. Okay.
Marcia, can you unmute?
Sorry.
Oops.
Now I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you
Don't
now.
forget it.
No, I can hear you.
Okay, you can. Well, I have a lot of glass jars that I'm saving for no reason. If anybody wants them, they can have them. If it'll make anyone happy.
Good idea.
That's it.
Yeah, you can recycle them through Yonkers, or actually anywhere where you are, you can put them in your recycling. So it's that easy. They love glass, but also you can store other things in them. You know, I did that for a while and then I couldn't keep up with it because I had too many jars. So I just threw them in my recycling. But thank you. Thank you.
Good idea.
Yeah, it is. Glass is just amazing. Gina, did I lose Gina? Oh, yeah, right. So also E has said dried goods, cookies, etc. Everything seems to be in plastic. But the reason for that, and I was going to say this too, and it's because with the companies that put their things in glass, it's too expensive, it breaks. So yeah, so it's that it breaks, and it's expensive, but even that can be solved. So I'm going to move on.
One thing, Jackie, I just,
Sure.
and it doesn't have to be right now. I have one of those, this is a stasher bag. I don't know if
Oh, right.
if we're looking at your screen right now, if you're between screens or if you're done with the screen, you know, I could show people. That's all I'm telling you.
Okay, yeah, no, I will highlight you when
When you're
get
ready.
out of
When
this.
you're
Yeah.
ready.
Okay, so here's a picture of tomatoes. Why am I talking about tomatoes now since we've been talking about school? Because our tomatoes on our garden. We have a garden that we have a raised bed at the library. That's not a picture. I just thought, oh, that's a picture. We now have flowers on our tomatoes. And this is our raised bed. See fancy lettering, YCR. To the right is our basil, and to the left is a filled tomatillo. We also have other things in the bed, but the reason that these things look as good as they do, and why they've been able to retain water as well as they have, obviously we've been watering it, but not tremendously because we have to watch out for water consumption. We did the lasagna gardening. We layered the bed. And one of the things that holds water in better than anything else is compost. Well, compost feeds the dirt. We put in raw compost. It was gross and smelled horrible, but we also put in, oh, I lost the word. It wasn't just dirt. It was, we put in soil, because you can't just, putting in topsoil, there's no vitamins in topsoil. But peat moss. Peat moss retains water. And that's why these never like died from a death from a lack of water, because it was able to retain the water that it got. But also we layered it with leaves. We had a circular system, and the system was, we had our compost bin in the back, and we dug out the compost from the bottom. Ed did, thank you, Ed, and other members.
My pleasure. I've recovered.
Oh my God, I was dying. So we layered it with compost, old leaves, raw compost, pieces of logs, so that we didn't have to fill up the bed so much with dirt, but also the logs will also break down in the dirt. And the reason, let me stop sharing. The reason it was important to do this is that all the things we put in the dirt helped to feed the soil. So Ed, let me see if I can spotlight you.
Yeah, so this is what I was talking about for like lunches.
Yeah.
You can put a sandwich easily in here. This particular one is called Stasher. I don't remember the company, or I know I got it online with Amazon, I think is how I got it. They're not cheap. If I remember right, this was like $12, some price on that order. Maybe you can get them cheaper, I don't know. But you can use it over and over and over again. And it's handy not only like for sandwiches and stuff like that, but a lot of times, you know, like you'll use, I don't know, in my house anyway, we'll use half a pepper when we're making a salad, or maybe a pepper and a half, but there'll be a half left over, you know, and, you know, you throw it in here and it's still good, you know, a week and a half later. I mean, it's you know, I find them very good. I think you can microwave them. You can do all sorts of stuff. I haven't done any of that, so I really can't testify, but they're not made of plastic. They're made of, I believe it's based on silicone, I think, or silicon.
Yeah, silicone bag.
Yeah, so whatever, but you know, anyway, if you're serious about this, or you only need a couple of sandwich bags that, you know, you have a couple of kids going off to school and, you know, they'll bring them home, that type of thing. It works.
Right.
I used to have my kids bring the paper bags home.
Right.
You know, you just fold them up and bring them home all the time.
Right.
And they got into the habit pretty quickly. It really wasn't bad. So anyway, for what it's worth.
Well, no, it's fantastic. Stasher, you don't have to get them online anymore. You know, so E has asked, so does it make it less safe for pasta sauce since plastic can cause more leaching into the sauce? Yes. It's not as, it does leach. Plastic leaches everything. That's why plastic water bottles, every plastic is, will absorb things. I don't know what the rates are for plastic, but I can tell you my ex-husband was a chemist, chemistry major, and he was not in favor of plastic anything that had food in it. You have to also watch out for PBAs. I don't have the exact name of that, But again, we'll talk about that. I think next time we will talk about plastic and the foods we eat. Why are we going to talk about food next month? If you want to do this again, I don't know. Does everybody want to come back next month?
I'm ready.
Okay. Because we're going to talk about our gardens, even if you don't have a garden. I also want to talk about the foods that you can get from the local, the local veggie markets, one in Farmers Market, one in Bronxville on Saturdays, the one in Tuckahoe on Sunday. There's one in Yonkers. I probably should have said that one first. There's one in the city, Union Square, if you're in the city. This is harvest time, and we're going to talk about the things that have been growing in our garden. I'm not sure the eggplant will be pickable yet, but I know the basil is ready, and I will be doing a pop-up pesto. Right, and E has said there are some plastics that are PBA free. So yes, but I'm gonna, since you have asked this, we're gonna talk about the dangers of plastic, or whatever. Why plastic? Straight from that movie. Plastics.
Oh, Mrs. Robinson.
Yeah, that was the worst thing that ever happened to us. But anyway, so the other thing I wanted to mention, anything you want, we have this Simply Living Well. We have it at the library. Grow Well, the author Marcus Bridgewater. I'll be writing a blog on this, and I will be donating it to, unless friends wants to buy a copy. I want to get it into the Presswood Library, because this is kind of like how nature, plants that we have, how nature and our own bodies need to be nurtured in certain ways. So I'm not going to say it's like a self-help book. It's more like a wellness book of the intersection of plants and human physiology and the things that we need to nurture us. But he's an expert at growing things, at problems with plants and things like that. It's a great read, it really is. And I will be writing a blog. Basically, I have 10 blogs I have to write. Also, I know we happen to have No Planet B. I know we have that. I think it's in the YA section. And The Soil Will Save Us. I'm not sure if we have that, but I know it's in the system. But if you feel like borrowing my copy, call me. But I think get it from our library. There's a few other plant books. And then I like this one. This one, I love this one. And this is just, it's called How to Read Water. And it's just an interesting read about nature and the nature of waterways and things that you see take place in the water. So, and to answer your question, E, thank you, Ed, we meet once a month. So I think next month, I think I'm on the 21st, but check our website and we'll send out, emails and things like that, especially if you want to put your email in the chat. We can send you a reminder. So yeah, does anybody have any other questions? Because we're coming down to the end and I don't want to go over.
Jackie, you missed your chance. You had the wrong T-shirt on. You just pushed no Planet B or exactly what you had. This one doesn't say it, right?
No, but this is Snoopy trying.
I know you have there is no Planet B.
Yes, but no one mentioned Godzilla.
Oh,
and why I'm wearing
I
Godzilla.
couldn't see that one.
Godzilla is the ultimate symbol in how the planet has, been altered, especially by nuclear power. And we're going to talk about that too, because one of the biggest mistakes we're going to make is one of the biggest mistakes we're going to make is going to nuclear energy to solve the problem, because you need water to cool down a nuclear power plant. And the only way we're going to be able to save ourselves with that is if we head toward molten salt reactors. And those are a one-button shutdown, and they use fluoride salt to cool down the rods. So I don't think if we do the regular reactors with water, big mistake.
Hi, everyone. This is Z from Yonkers Public Library. Thanks so much to Sally Pinto and Alexis from Newark. Thank you to our community partners, WJCS, the City of Yonkers Office for the Aging, Friends of Crestwood Library, and Yonkers Public Library for making this phenomenal partnership. And we thank each and every one of you for being part of our wellness community. Be well, stay well.